One hit from that trunk and we're goners, Darren says as he looks at the hole in the ground made by Hardrick when he fell. I wouldn't recommend attacking the mammoth unless you're really confident in your invasive skills. Barry, neither of your weapons would be able to get through the armor's thick, armored skin, so you better stay out of this. Layla, the enchantments on your daggers are a little better, so you could give it a shot if you want to come with us. I'll come with you. We could probably shoot its eyes, can't we? I'll come with you, Layla writes. Good, Darren says. Let's hurry. I'm not sure how long Hardwick can keep the mammoth busy on his own. As Darren, Noldren, and Layla suddenly head towards the mammoth, I suddenly remember that I came upon a page dealing the weakness of a red-eyed mammoth in my notebook while I was reading through my notes for the arena. Sure, go get the notebook. I'm certainly not going to be of much use out here at this rate. Okay, it's settled. I'll go get the notebook. Rush towards my tent. Once I reach it, I open the zipper. On my way there, I couldn't help but notice the Melindra's tent has remained closed since the battle has started. There's no way that she didn't hear those loud horns from before, or sound from all the fighting, which means that she's just pretending to still be asleep, or so she doesn't have to give away the fact that she can control the power of her wind magic. Whatever, I don't have time to think about that. Think about her. I have other things to do right now. I quickly step inside my tent, open my backpack, and then I take out my notebook from it, and I flip through the pages until I reach the paragraphs about the mammoths. And finally, here is what I was looking for, the red-eyed mammoth section. But what does it say under weakness? Let's see. Weirdly, mammoth's main weakness is the very base of its trunk on the underside. Unlike regular mammoths, that is where this type of creature has its nostrils. Usually the trunk is the nostril, but okay, so that part is basically lacking any sort of armor. One good stab in that area could do some serious damage to the creature's airway. I'm not sure how one would go about doing that without getting smashed into the ground by the trunk. Mammoth's eyes are also a weakness, but the eyelids are pretty thick, so it would take quite some effort to get through them. The creature only needs to close its eyes to protect itself, so as far as weaknesses go, this one isn't all that useful. I can't really find any other information that could help us in this situation, so I decided to place the notebook back inside my backpack, then exit the tent. Looking at the battleground, I see that the mammoth is still busy defending itself from Hardrick, while mostly ignoring the fact that Darren, Noldren, and Layla were trying to cut its thick skin by slashing at its legs. There are a few more holes in the ground now. Then when I went inside my tent, but apparently this hasn't stopped Hardrick from jumping at the monster some more, and they're getting smashed into the ground over and over. But now then, nobody expect Hardrick could be able to reach high enough in order to keep the mammoth's eyes on its nostrils. But the dwarf seems to have his hands full at the moment. Kate, Flower, and Luna are still fighting the Varren riders in the sky, so won't be able to provide assistance. If only we had someone else who could fly in our team. Hold on, what am I saying? There is someone else. Hey Melindra, can you hear me? I shout while I look towards Melindra's tent. I can see no movement inside the tent or anything else that might confirm the fact that she's heard me. After a few more seconds of silence, I continue. Okay, you don't need to answer me, I say. I just have a little favor to ask. Remember how you made us all fly over the wall of Thelius with the wind magic? Well, I was thinking that maybe you might have a way to make me fly that would also give me some manner of control. Like some semi-intelligent air currents that react to my movements or something. I've also had access to elementalist wind magic 2 times before. I think it should be theoretically possible to cast such a spell. You've been practicing this type of magic 600 years, so surely you must know how to do something like this by now, right? Wait for a few seconds to see if I get any answer, but still the only answer I get is silence. Listen, I say, I'm not asking you to join the battle. You don't need to give yourself away or anything. All I'm asking is you cast a spell on me that will allow me to fly. Still no answer. Come on, Melindra, I say. I know you can hear me. I wait for another 3 seconds, but there is no sound coming from inside the tent. Melindra, I shout. All of a sudden, I can feel several air currents circling around me, similar to the ones I felt when Melindra raised me in the air for the first time. Only a few seconds later, my body gets lifted from the ground. I start to float several feet above the soil. When I move my hands around a little, I notice that the air currents are reacting to my movement, changing my direction accordingly. If I raise my arms in the air currents propel me forward. If I lower them, I slowly come to a halt. The current also seems to be taken into account the way I lean my body, the way I move my legs when they establish what direction I need to go in. Obviously, they're not going to be as responsive as the current I was using to lift me from the ground back then when I was using my stat device's emergency mode, due to the fact that these particular air currents need to wait for my movement before they change my direction and speed, but it's much better than what I would have expected from a spell of this kind. "You have my thanks," I shout from up above towards Melindra, and then I move higher into the air, or do a little test flight before I head over to the mammoth. Try to do as many moves as possible so I can properly understand what causes me to change direction, altitude, and speed, because I can't afford to make any mistakes when I'm fighting the mammoth. One slip up and his trunk will break all of my bones with a single swing. The control of the spell needs to be perfect. "Barry, look out!" I hear Kate's voice from above. As I look up, I suddenly notice that two of the Varen riders are currently diving towards me with a spear at the ready, with Kate and Flower too busy fighting their own Varens to be able to help me in any way. Try to bribe the orcs into joining my side? That is such a dumb thing. Try to attack the Varens. I mean, they probably have a very hard shield on, but the riders probably have like a leather thing on, so I'm gonna go for the orc riders first. Oh great, combat technique check failed. I don't like the Varen riders get too close. I don't let the Varen riders get too close, and I mimic a jump in the direction in which I want to go, which sends me flying away from my enemies with great speed. I then rotate my body towards and begin to move my legs in a circular motion, similar to how I would move them while trying to keep myself afloat in a lake with a vertical position. This stops my momentum and changes my direction, as I can now face my enemies properly. It's a good thing that I can mostly control my direction and speed without my arms, because this might allow me to use my crossbow in mid-flight. I also noticed that the skills I practiced by flying aircrafts in the past are proving really useful when trying to control these types of flight spells. It would have probably taken me a lot longer to get accustomed to flying like this if I never flew a plane before. I aim my weapon at one of the orcs and I start to shoot him while I'm still busy trying to get out of the range of their spears. Unfortunately, aiming at a very rapidly moving target while I'm flying myself is not as easy as it may sound. I somehow managed to waste every one of my shots. I don't have time to reload. I try to outmaneuver the Varens, so I have to get on top of them in order to attack the riders directly, but the flight spell provided to me by Melindra is neither fast nor responsive enough for me to be able to compare myself with these creatures that have been flying for as long as they can remember. I attempt to parry one of the orc spear and make a rush for him, but the second Varen rider takes advantage of my momentary distraction. He dives with his spear right into my stomach, temporarily freezing my movements because of pain. As I'm still standing there floating in midair, the orc quickly takes his spear out of me, and then he drives it through my throat, killing me in a few moments afterwards. Cool, so I'm gonna load that. Let's try to attack the Varens this time. Strength check level 1. I don't let the Varen riders get too close, and I mimic a jump in the direction in which I want to go, which sends me flying away from my enemies at great speed. I then rotate my body upwards and begin to move my legs. Yeah, already read this. Let's see what's new. This is same. I aim my weapon at one of the Varens and I shoot all the bolts in the crossbow magazine at it. The monster screams, and it stops slapping his wing, which makes it crash to the ground along with its rider, killing them both. I try to reload my crossbow while I fly away from the other Varen, but the creature is faster than me, and it doesn't take long until it reaches my position. With my crossbow still in my left hand, I use my right hand to quickly take out my dagger from its sheath and stab the Varens in its neck as it's about to bite me with its sharp teeth. The knife goes through all the way, and the creature screams in agony as it pulls away from me, leaving me with a bloody weapon in my hand, while the Varen flaps his wing furiously, flying erratically. They were trying to somehow reduce the effects of the pain through its movement. After a few seconds, the orc no longer manages to keep his balance, and he falls off the Varens to his death. As the Varens eventually starts to fall to the ground as well, I begin to reload my crossbow while slowly heading towards the mammoth, which Hardrick and the others are still busy fighting. Seems that while I was busy with the Varen, the mammoth has changed its tactic. It's now trying to trample Darren Noldren instead of focusing on Hardrick. Like before, the two enchanters have managed to do quite a bit of damage to the monster's leg while I wasn't looking, however, which have greatly reduced the creature's speed. Seeing that Darren and Noldren Layla are all able to easily dodge his charges, the mammoth is forced to once again turn its focus to Hardrick, who just keeps pummeling the monster despite all the beating he's taken in his fight. As I get closer to my destination, I stop right above the mammoth in order to be ready to attack at a moment's notice. Now then, which one of its weak points should I go for? The eyes or the nostrils or the underside of the trunk? I mean, I think we are above, and it's probably not... I wanted to go for the nostrils, honestly, but that was before we could fly. But now we can fly, things change. Let me think.